The weirdest thing is I can picture the exact moment, right?
Because he really dominated in the beginning.
Right.
Welcome to another podcast. As you know, we are a car detailing company, a car wash company, and we have people from all walks of life coming through to our premises using our services. And we thought it would be a good idea for us and you as viewers to get to know who they are, what is it that they do, and what can we take from them in life. Today we're speaking to somebody who has a name that is absolutely huge in the national and international combat sports. He is a professional firearms instructor and a hunter. So for the guys that want to follow some sort of combat sports, be it shooting, fighting, or hunting, and you want to skip through the line and go forward, this will be the ideal person for you to follow. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody that is proudly South African, Mr. Zaakir Badat, who is EFC, as you can see, EFC champion. Welcome, Zaakir.
Thank you, Brother Feroz.
Thank you for coming over.
Awesome and a pleasure being here.
And I see you brought your belt and came through. Wow, that's an achievement of note.
It's a heavy thing to carry around every day. It comes out now and then. Yes. But yeah, that's the welterweight championship belt that I fought for and won end of last year.
Okay.
And it's one of my proudest achievements to date.
And I see it's EFC.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to tell the listeners out there, what is EFC?
EFC is the Extreme Fighting Championship. It is the most dominant and premier mixed martial arts organization in Africa. They are a staple for many internationally recognized fighters that have gone on to the UFC. Not to mention brightest, who was now a role model for other South African fighters. He was the first UFC World Champion. And before he was a UFC World Champion, he was an EFC champion. Okay. So I'm very proud to be the EFC's current welterweight champion.
Excellent. And when did it strike you that I want to do this?
Yeah.
And at what age were you at that time? What sparked it?
The weirdest thing is I can picture the exact moment I actually told my dad I want to be a professional fighter. At the time, being a child, I didn't quite understand what that would entail over the rest of my life. It was a tongue-in-cheek thing to say in the moment, but turned out to be my destiny from their point on. So growing up, I would watch an organization called Pride Fighting Championship. So there was two dominant organizations, the UFC and Pride in Japan. And Pride was actually a bigger organization than the UFC when it first originally started. I'm talking early 2001, 1998, 2001, 2002. And I would watch Pride avidly with my dad and my brothers. And I remember one day sitting and watching and told my dad, I must have been, 8 or 9 years old, and told my dad, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And there was no weight classes at the time in Pride. It was open weight tournaments. So you could be any size. And my dad said, you're going to have to be quite big and quite tall for this, based on the fact that a lot of those guys were giants. And that was the first moment I ever uttered, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And I can even remember the exact point, location where I was when I said that.
Wow, that's a turning point in your life.
I suppose it was.
And from what I can see, the stuff that you do requires a lot of precision, discipline, self-motivation. What would you tell our listeners out there about those three categories that you got to follow?
Yeah, I think when it comes to being a professional athlete of any kind, I think there are certain things that are required. So discipline is one, all right? Then there are other factors that are oftentimes out of our immediate control. Genetics play a huge role. I do believe there are certain gifts that are bestowed upon people in various degrees that we do not necessarily ask for. There's a reason some people are naturally faster, naturally stronger, or naturally smarter in the psychological field or in the intellectual field. I feel the same when it comes to the athletic field. So there's a lot of things that have to go right that are often, without you actually having a direct input to them, will lead to your success. But things like discipline, foresight, and your ability to push through hard tasks is a must, regardless of what sport you're performing in.
You know, for me as an individual, I try and follow a training routine. but sometimes I find it difficult. I feel heavy some days. Sometimes I'm just mentally not there. Somebody like you, how do you deal with days like that?
Yeah. So I often tell people that come to me and are in the heat of motivation and they're inspired and they want to change their life around and they're going to go through this massive catharsis and they're going to be a new person in a year's time. And that's all well and good. And I believe that they believe it in the moment because they've got that enthusiasm and that motivation. But unfortunately, motivation is fleeting, unfortunately.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Myself personally, a lot of days I wake up and I'm sore and I'm tired. I don't want to train. I wish I didn't have to go and train. But I equate it to brushing your teeth in the morning. It's not whether you want to brush your teeth or you don't want to. It's something that must be done.
Yeah.
And that helps me in being able to push through those hard days.
Okay.
It's one of those things. And for every 10 days of training, if I can have 7 good days and 3 bad days, that's great.
All good.
When I'm getting beaten and I'm the nail and not the hammer, in those times I tell myself, okay, this is one of your bad days, no problem.
Yeah.
Your good days are coming. And I think that for me allows me to push through, that you can't wait to feel good to train. You got to understand it's something that I've got to do. I've got to tick the box. I've got to brush my teeth. And that gets me through it.
A lot of people advise, people that are up and coming, that you said it's equivalent to waking up in the morning and brush your teeth. It's something you got to do. What about making your bed?
Yeah, 100%. Now, again, when it comes to having structure in your life, I am a person, I believe if I have routine, if I have structure, and even if it's mundane things, like you said, wake up, make your bed.
Yeah.
Many psychologists actually speak to this fact.
Yes.
You create micro patterns. You get off on a good note of objective completion. Something as simple as make my bed, clean up after yourself, make sure your room is neat, and then you start the day. Already you've started your day on a positive note. Yeah. So I think, yes, there's a lot of merit to that. Micro goals. Set micro goals, so then you build your way up to the bigger goals.
You spoke about, genetics, and some people have it and some people don't.
Yes.
Right? I know not too much about the fighting scene, but I've heard people speak about fight IQ.
Right.
Right? And I've seen quite a few of your fights, and I've seen the way you set it out, the way you start, and you give a little to the guy, and then you start operating,
Right.
You start becoming the hammer.
Yes.
Right? Is that what fight IQ is?
Yes, I think you summed it up perfect. I think fight IQ is your ability to disseminate data in a high stress scenario and on the fly make the appropriate decisions. Yeah. And that just gets better over time. And some people are better at it naturally than others. I do believe it applies to how you think, how your mind works. But that is a huge proponent in which makes a great fighter, is your ability to, in a high pressure situation, not just react, but be able to assess and then react.
Yes, so it's thinking on the floor in a high stress. That's complicated.
100%.
Very complicated. You've got to be a very, very headstrong person to get that right.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
It's done in increments.
Yeah.
You use your brain and the internal software over time develops patterns, develops ways to assess that situation. So when you're in the moment, your processor and your computer is working subconsciously.
Yeah.
Because it's so used to working at a particular pace in a particular scenario.
I've seen that you fought at the UAE Warriors.
Yes.
That's an international.
Correct.
Stand.
Yes.
And it was a Turkish opponent.
Yes, I fought multiple times at the Abu Dhabi Warriors. They're the premier mixed martial arts organization in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And I had the opportunity to fight there during the COVID period. So when the world was kind of locked down, I had the opportunity to sort of travel and fight overseas. I fought in the famous Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. A great experience. I fought at a heavier weight class when I was there. I was a heavyweight going to middleweight.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm a welterweight, meaning welterweight I fight at 77 kilograms.
Yeah.
Middleweight is between 84 and 92 kilograms.
So you've come down.
Yeah. So since that period of time, I switched to the welterweight division. I've dropped down and acquired the championship for the welterweight division.
Looking at some of your fights, and I've realized you're so glued on, and you're so on top of everything that I've noticed when you start up and you get kicked or you get hit, you actually almost speaking to the opponent.
Yeah,
at that time.
it drives my dad mad.
You know, I mean,
it drives him insane. He's like, why do you ever get hit before? For me personally, that's just who I am. To fight in the moment is not a difficult thing to do. We can let our emotion take over. You know, there's an altercation, there's a fisticuff. We can fight in the moment. With fighting, it's the weight. It's to know that there's a guy in 8 weeks' time. He's a killer, and he's training just as hard as you are.
Yes.
And in 8 weeks, he's going to be there to try and kill you if he can. And you wake up with this every morning, right? Continuously. And motivation does this. So you're all good when you're here, but when you're down there, your brain can often make something to be bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
You make this person into a demon. You make this person into a monster. So for me, in the cage, I've been fantasizing about the worst possible demon I'm going to fight. So when I get in there, and that's why when I fight, they say the general rule when you're fighting is to look at the shoulders.
Okay.
When you look at the shoulders, you can read the twitch. For me, I like to look at the eyes. Because if I see your eyes, I know you're human. And if you're human, that means you can die and I can kill you. And that for me fills me with that positivity in the moment. That's why I like looking into the fighter's eyes. Yeah. It's almost a very intimate thing for me. Like this is a human. This is something that can get killed. Yeah. And it takes away that facade of fear that you build around it. So when I get hit and you didn't knock me out or you didn't stop me, it's almost in my mind an expletive F you. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, that's all you did. And that's how we go from there.
I noticed with Luke Michael.
Yes.
He is somebody that was heavier or in a different class from you.
One class above me, heavier than me.
And while watching that video, and I said, shit, Zach's finished here.
Right.
You know, because he really dominated in the beginning.
Right.
But little did I realize that was something that you were sussing out.
Correct.
And then you just changed the table and turned the table. What does it take to have that mentality, to be able to get hit, suss the guy out and see how strong he is, and then all of a sudden say, right, my turn, and start hammering?
Right. I think when it comes to that, your ability to endure punishment without allowing it to put you in such a negative space that you become your own enemy, I think that's mental resilience. I think there's mental illness behind that too. Fortunately and unfortunately, the fighting game, it's not something that you would say is for a normal, healthy mind. Yeah. Two human beings, we're going in there, and I'm going to try and do as nastier things as I can to you. If you die, you die. One of those things. And people have died in the cage. You know? So if you go into the mentality of kill or be killed, I'm going to hit you as hard as I can, I'm going to hurt you as hard as I can. And that's not a healthy place for a human being to be, naturally. You know? So to be in there, unfortunately, I don't think it's something you can teach. I think it's something that you have inside of you. It's almost like you're in a demon. There's something broken that brings that out in you. Yeah. And that's why I would never motivate anyone to fight professionally, ever. Because a real fighter doesn't need you to motivate him to fight. He's going to fight. And that's what I truly believe. So in those moments when you're being smashed and you're being battered, it's to have the foresight of what drives you then. Yeah. For me personally, and it was explained to me in a very nice way, and it clicked. Whenever I thought about winning and losing, it's a seesaw effect. Because when you win in the fight, your morale is increased. I'm winning, yes. But at the same token, you also fear of the seesaw going in the other direction. Because then when you're losing, you can compound. Oh, I'm losing. It becomes an endless cycle of negativity. So in the moment when I fight, I just fight, and excuse the bad language, and you can beep it out, is what the f you. So in the moment, and I don't like to live my life that way. I like to be as gentleman or as nice of a person as I can outside the cage. But there's a demon in there. There's something dark in there. So when I'm in there, I find I fight best out of you. That winning or losing is irrelevant for me. It's even if I lose, I wanna hurt you as best as I can. So in that Luke Michael exchange, through years and years of being in a negative position, I'm taking in micro data, how he moves his hips, the pressure I'm feeling. I'm talking to him in the moment. My brother is right here on the left. My dad is here.
I've seen that.
And I'm talking to Shaq. I'm like, it's all good. 2 minutes are gone, he's taking my back, it's all good. I can feel his pressure, and I can feel he has an urgency to win. Yeah. That is a dangerous thing to have, that urgency to win. No, you are forcing it. You are forcing the fact. So for me, it's like, just take your time. He's winning now. I can see he's on the fulcrum of I'm winning. But the moment I turned the tables, I saw his whole morale went down. Okay. And that's what I knew. Okay, so this is now the end.
I noticed when you were in the corner, your dad and your brother were there. And I'm thinking to myself, are these guys advising him what to do?
Yes.
Were they?
100%. So my brother Shaq knows me better than anyone. My dad's been in my corner since I started fighting or competing, 7, 8 years old. So if anyone that knows me, it's my brother and my dad.
Yes.
And Shaq actually called. There's a position I switched on the cage where I went underhook
Yes.
and I ran him.
That's it.
And Shaq told me in the corner, he said, Zach, underhook. And as I heard, I fired underhook and I switched him. So yes, 100%. I'll credit that to Shaq.
That's lekker. I mean, especially having your dad by your side.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something very, very nice to
I'm
have.
very grateful for that. Very lucky.
And how long, or do you foresee yourself getting into UFC?
Yeah, that's the goal. Well, I started fighting professionally. I was studying architecture at the time. I studied architecture for 3 years. I thought that was my life was going to be. I did some work. I worked in an architectural office as an apprentice for a few years, and working in an office is not for me. I got ants in my pants.
I've been there.
And I've got to be out there and experience the world. And that's just my personality. So when I decided to become a professional fighter, the goal was to be at the top level, which is the UFC. The goal was to make money that I can now live and change the life of my life and my family's life. And that's the reason that I fight. It's the UFC and it's the financial incentive
Yes.
that can change my life and my family's life.
Listening to another podcast in the past, I don't know if you can recall.
Yes.
You were supposed to have fought Drickus.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, so it was a lockdown period. I was fighting at light heavyweight at the time when I first started as a professional fighter. And the world shut down and they were touting me to fight Gideon Dritsky, and the winner from those two was going to fight Drickus for the light heavyweight or the middleweight championship. It didn't pan out. He went to fight in the UFC. I went to fight in Abu Dhabi at the time. We're no longer in the same weight class. He's a very big human being.
Yeah.
And all props and respect to him, man.
The fight that had happened this weekend.
Yes.
Between Islam.
Yes.
And
ADM.
Yes.
Yes.
What was your take on that fight?
I kind of saw it coming. I think anyone with any fight IQ would have realized that fight was a mismatch to begin with. Islam is on another level, exceptionally good. JDM came in with a massive hole in his game. And I think it was evident in his fight against the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist, whose name escapes me as of now. Gilbert Burns. Gilbert
You
Burns.
trained with him,
I have had the opportunity to train briefly with Gilbert Burns in Kill Cliff back in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I went and trained at the same academy for a short period of time.
And did you grapple with him?
I had the opportunity. I had a round with him. Yes.
And
I mean, he's very good, world class. But he dominated JDM for 3 rounds.
Yes.
Out-grappled him completely. And on the last round, JDM managed to make a scramble, caught him with a knee, and then the fight turned. That's fighting. So I think based on that, I already knew Islam was going to shut this guy down. When it comes to grappling, the chances of being lucky are far less than striking. Striking, any guy can throw a haymaker, hits you in the jaw, and knock you. With grappling, you can't fake it.
You know, funny you say that. I'm really new into this whole thing, right? And when I grapple with somebody, or if I'm on the floor, a minute feels like 10 years.
Yeah.
So you got to be really, really, really fit.
100%.
To endure somebody like
100%.
Islam or Khabib or any of these Dagestani fighters.
Of course.
Tell me about your jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Black belt?
Yes.
How did you get that? Where did you get that? Who did you get it under?
My journey in martial arts started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. 22 years ago. I was around 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu had just started in South Africa. It started in KwaZulu-Natal. There were 2 people, Michael Atkinson and Penny Thomas. They were the founders of Novagen, the first academy in South Africa.
Okay.
So at the time, the UFC had just become popular because a guy by the name of Hoist Gracie competed in the first UFC, and he was a small guy, and he fought in a no-rules tournament with no weight classes. And there was this, you couldn't punch you could punch the groin, you just couldn't eye poke and bite. Everything else was go. And this small guy beat everyone in the tournament by utilizing technique.
Yeah.
So Jiu-Jitsu came out at the time as a dominant martial art. So my dad was very much into the more traditional martial arts, Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, Kung Fu, and he saw Jiu-Jitsu as a more practical application in a real life setting. There's more variables that can be considered in an open setting as opposed to very linear martial arts. You hit me here, I block you like this, X, Y, and Z. Whereas in Jiu-Jitsu, the angles are infinite. And my dad joined, the first academy, Norwegian, and he asked the instructors, Penny and Micah, you guys have a kids program? And they're like, no, we don't have a kids program. We're like, I've got kids here, can you start a class for them? Which they did. And we were the first kids to participate, and that is history. And my entire life thereafter was based around jiu-jitsu and gymnastics for the next few years. The same person that gave me my first stripe on my white belt, Penny Thomas, was the first world champion to come out of South Africa, multiple-time world champion out of South Africa. She lives now in Hawaii. I was fortunate to actually receive my black belt from her in Hawaii at the age of 21, 22.
Lovely.
So it was a really emotional moment for me. Getting a black belt in jiu-jitsu is not like getting a black belt in karate or other martial arts. It took me 18 years to get a black belt.
Wow, that's hard work, perseverance.
That's it.
And I've seen the fight with Jason Souza.
Yes,
That's when you took the belt from him.
correct.
First belt it is.
Yes.
And after the fight, I saw you doing some breakdancing.
Yeah, yeah.
So is that something you do as well?
Not officially, unofficially. That's just being caught up in the moment. I have a background in gymnastics, so I credit a lot of my athleticism to starting gymnastics at a very young age. And I always tell parents, if you're going to put your kids in a sport, the first thing I put them in is in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Because you can do any sport after that. So yeah,
Yes.
just unofficial breakdancing.
So let's get on to the next exciting thing, which is professional tactical firearms instructor.
Right.
So tell us more about
So
that.
I'm a qualified professional firearm instructor. I have a registered firearm training school. And one of my passions is self-perseverance, self-protection, self-resilience. And it ties in with my ethos that I developed through martial arts. I grew up as a very scared person, very scared child. I was fearful with many things. And I understood the best way to overcome those fears is not to pass on the responsibility to someone else, but
Face it.
equip yourself so that you are confident in facing whatever problems may come.
That's it.
And I was fortunate to have the experience of being exposed to correct firearm handling and use and the art of marksmanship from a young age. So I started in high school around the age of 14, 15. And I competed in a sports shooting scene for many years, IPSC, myself and my brother, and we dedicated a lot of hours and a lot of time to it. And that ability to master a skill and the responsibility and the respect a firearm gives you is something that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. It's my most passionate endeavor outside of martial arts, or equally passionate, is the right to own firearms, the right to protect yourself, to carry firearms for self-defense, and to participate in shooting sports, which I think is something that carries a lot of stigma, a lot of negativity. And it shouldn't. It should be viewed as we view archery. Archery was utilized as a wartime practice. We would go to war with bows and arrows.
Yes.
And over the years, it's evolved to a sport where it's more respected as just a sport. I see firearms as just the same. A firearm doesn't have to have this negative connotation of it's meant to kill someone.
Yeah.
It can be used in recreation, in family time, in bonding time, as a sport, being able to learn a skill. So I think there's a lot to be learned from marksmanship, from teaching the youth the responsibility and the respect for a tool and a mechanism like firearms.
Yeah, look, combining your fighting and your firearms experience, you are a recipe for disaster if it comes into a street fight or something like that.
Yes.
But I can see you have a very good head on your shoulders. Right. You've got a lot of self-control and very much discipline. I think the negative connotations comes in when people have firearms and get into a fight and first thing they do is pull it out.
Unfortunately. And you see what happens there is your self-belief and your confidence. And if your self-esteem is low, typically those individuals are the ones that will react negatively.
Yeah.
Through years of dedication to anything, I don't care what it is. But if you are someone that's used to putting in time, being broken, building yourself up, being broken, you have respect not only for yourself, but in what you're capable of doing. Mm-hmm. So in a situation like you mentioned, that happens all the time. A confrontation, someone pulls out a firearm when they didn't need to, and a person's life is lost unnecessarily. And they give all the upstanding citizens who use firearms correctly a negative image. And that comes down to the individual not having discipline, not having, and most of those people, if you confront them, they have no actual training with firearms. They haven't put in years and years of effort to become a marksman or become a trained individual, because trained individuals don't have anything to prove. You understand what your limitations are. You understand what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. There is no need to have an ego fight.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's where most negative occurrences come from. It's a human being with a shallow self-esteem that does a stupid thing.
Excellent. Now, let's get into the hunting.
Yes.
I saw a video of you going out into the wilderness and you had hunted an animal.
Yes.
And you tied it around your back.
Right.
And you walked a couple of kilometers on your back.
Yeah, another incident of mental illness. So as fighters, if life is going too good for us, we're gonna find something to make our life a bit more difficult again.
Yes.
You sleep on a soft bed for too long, you start getting miserable. So for me, I've been hunting now for a few years. It's again my passion for self-reliance, resilience. Being out in nature, we live in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. We live in South Africa. I don't think people appreciate where we live. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to experience what we can drive down the road to experience. We live in a very free country as of now, as of this podcast, unless anything changes. But we should make the most of that. And I was fortunate enough to have the correct introduction to hunting. I'm a qualified professional hunter. I've qualified up in the Northern Cape with the Northern Cape Professional Hunting School. And over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time in the bush. When I'm not fighting or I'm not training, my escape is the bush. And the kind of hunting I enjoy, which is not commonly practiced in South Africa, is camp hunting, where we go out, we walk out a few kilometers, you set up camp, and then from there you go out. And the unknowns and the variables are so much greater. So Africa has some of the laziest hunters. We are what we call bucky hunters. So bucky hunters, we drive, there's an animal, shoot it, we get someone to cut it, skin it, gut it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the rest of the world, that is, if you go to hunt in America, you got to go and do everything yourself. You got to trek in. You got to harvest the animal. You got to cut up the meat, protect the meat, bring it back. You got to have all those skills.
Yeah.
So I try to bring that into a South African setting. Excellent. I try and go out on my own and be as self-reliant as I can. Hunting the animal on my own, stalking it on my own, bringing it back on my own, and then thereafter butchering it and consuming it. For me, that's the most fulfilling thing. Regardless of the animal, the size of the animal, I can shoot a daiko or an impala and be just as happy if I shot a kudu or a buffalo. Yes. It's because it's what I'm going through to achieve that means more than the actual thing itself.
Excellent. That sounds very interesting. I might take you up on one of those trips.
I would love it. You're an avid fisherman, and maybe you do a skill set trade. It's not a bug that's bit me yet, but I'm sure if you taught me, I would 100%
No, definitely, definitely. If you teach me how to fight, I'll teach you how to fish.
I'll try my best. I can't promise anything. I'll try my best.
Look, Zaakir, I'd love to carry on. We're short on time. Perfect. Maybe we can do another episode if time permits on your side.
Perfect.
To everybody out there, this is our very own EFC champ, Zaakir Badat. I have learned a lot from him in this little conversation, and I hope that you have learned a whole lot more. But before we go, just know that Zaakir trains people, be it jiu-jitsu, MMA. He does your firearm licenses if something, am I right, Zaakir?
Yeah, so I'm a professional firearm instructor. We help you with regards to tactical training for civilians, for professional security personnel. We have a number of tailored courses that you can go through. I'm also a professional hunter, so if you would like any help with planning your next hunt, you're welcome to give me a shout.
Definitely would. And how would they be able to get hold of you guys? Is social media?
You can go to my website, www.badatbrothers.co.za, and you can get all the contact details from our website and get hold of us from there.
Excellent. Thank you for coming over.
Pleasure, brother. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.